Word identification is a reading skill, and some like to think of word identification as part of phonics, but as you'll find out as we go through this presentation, it's really two separate reading skills, as word identification goes farther than phonics, but still uses phonics to help identify words. So in order to read or construct meaning from the printed language and to write printed language to convey a message, students must be able to recognize and print the language that they use orally. This ability, or as I said before, reading skill, is referred to as word identification. Some like to use the term decoding for word identification. Word identification includes strategies that students use in order to decode words. Some examples include phonic analysis using analogies, syllabic analysis, and morphemic analysis. We'll talk a little bit more about those strategies specifically in a few slides. So basically, mature readers are able to identify words with speed and accuracy. So here we're getting some fluency in. Fluent word identification is a prereq for, hopefully most of you said, comprehension. Our fluency affects comprehension. Our word identification influences our fluency. Beginning readers recognize very few words instantly, but repeated exposure to the same words, instant recognition of vocabulary grows. So what does word identification look like in a classroom? A lot of it is teaching those word identification strategies, which we'll get into in more depth, and also activities such as pointing out words through game type activities. Writing the words is definitely increasing the active learning, and then repeated read aloud instruction through interactive reading. What interactive reading is a series of purposeful activities that also incorporates reciprocal teaching. So like all of the other type of modeled, shared, guided, it's all purposeful reading activities. Some of the things that we do during interactive reading is previewing the book, scaffolding on prior knowledge, helping students make those connections, modeling vocabulary development, teaching reading fluency, emphasizing elements of the story, and so on. But the key part of what I just went through is the word identification, modeling that word identification. Some of the word identification strategies, we've broken them into 3 groups. We have context clues, word structure clues, and analogy clues. For context clues, the first one we have semantic or meaning clues. Semantics are the meaning of a word, phrase, sentence, or text. Oftentimes you'll hear if people are arguing, they'll say, oh, now you're just getting into the semantics, the meaning of the words. That's a good way to remember what semantics are. Syntax or word order clues. Syntax is the arrangement of words or phrases to create well-phrased sentences. We need to know the syntax to use our language appropriately. Also with syntax, it can be how a word is put together beyond just sentences. But syntax clues, it's really getting into the grammar of a sentence and be able to use that as clues to identify different words. And then, of course, we have picture clues that are available in picture storybooks. If we're looking at a pictograph, you know, there's a lot of digital things that are available now for students to be using those picture clues. The next category we get into is word structure clues, and this is really where phonics plays a big part in word identification. The first one we have is phonemic analysis. That's using the phonemes, and as we learned before, phonemes is the sound of letters or letter combination, and then also different rules of phonics to be able to analyze an unfamiliar word and then be able to identify it. So students apply their knowledge of phonics, rules, and spelling patterns to help identify words. The next strategy is morphemic analysis. In morphemic analysis, students use their knowledge of the root word and then the prefix and the suffix to read unfamiliar words. So it's breaking that apart, identifying the root word, and then looking into the prefix and suffix. Syllabic analysis, once again, it's breaking that word down into syllables, similar to morphemic analysis. There we're looking at the root word. For syllabic analysis, we're breaking it into syllables, into chunks that students might know. In syllables, there is only one vowel sound. That doesn't mean that there's only one vowel letter, the grapheme part, but one vowel sound per syllable. And then we get into analogy clues, decoding by analogy, where students use their knowledge of phonograms to deduce the pronunciation of a familiar word. And so decoding, we're breaking it down. So for an example, if the student doesn't know the word claw, but they do know the word saw, they'd be able to break it down into the AW, aw, and add in the CL for claw. So decoding by analogy, knowing other familiar words and being able to add, take away the beginning letter of that and adding in the new letter and corresponding sound. So what are the differences between word identification and phonics? There's actually quite a bit, and if I had to sum it up, I would say word identification goes further than phonics, and we need phonics in order to be able to interact with word identification, and we're using a lot of phonics in our word identification strategies. So phonics is an approach to identifying words. Phonics is the relationship between letters and sounds. Clues that go beyond phonics, that is word identification, and that's where we're starting to include grammar, the syntax of a sentence, the meaning or semantics, the word parts where we have the root word and then the prefix, suffix, and using familiarity with similar words, analogy. I would say that's part of phonics as well, but using semantics and syntax is definitely going beyond phonics. Phonics works with other language cueing systems to help identify a word, but then the syntax and semantic clues can help predict the word. So predict is a key word in that. Phonics and word parts help specify the word, while word identification skills work together to confirm that the choice is the best one, and most importantly, that it makes sense.